Hey, guess what, everyone? Someone listened to me. I asked for recommendations, and someone recommended a game. The game is Boltbot Screwy Versus, which is a hell of a mouthful. And for way longer than I'd like to admit, I thought it was versus and not viruses. So I had to come up with a shorter way to say it because Boltbot Screwy Versus is way too long to say repeatedly. My first thought was just make one of those things where you say the first letter of each word and it spells out something. A couple of problems with that. First, I looked up what it was called, and the answer is Acrostick. I think Google lied to me on that one, so I didn't want to use it. But more importantly is reason two, which is that BBSV is way too close to BBS for me to say nice things about it. I have made it no secret that I am not a Snyder fan, and this was a complete coincidence, but nonetheless, it's a reason not to do it. Thirdly, is the most selfish reason, is that BBSV sounded out is BBSV, which would be an even bigger deal than just saying the game name every time. So I'm just gonna go with Boltbot for the name of the game, and Robot Dude for the main character you play as. This isn't a perfect solution, but it's the one that I'm going with, so deal with it. But on to the more important stuff. How is the game? Well, what better place to start than the beginning? I wanted to test out the game because it's basically still in beta. It's technically an early release, but same thing. And boy, did I find stuff for that. Let's start with the first 15 minutes that I spend roaming around the shop because if you hit a load game before making a new saved game, it will soft lock you in the store. Not gonna lie, I kind of forgot I did this after like 3 minutes of roaming and just started getting mad at the fact that I had nothing to do. This was not the greatest first experience for a game. I imagine there will be many people searching for ways to break the game like they did with every Mario game to ever exist, just because of how many things I found in the game that were already broken while I was not even looking for them. Mario is probably a good transition from here. I made several Mario references while I was playing this game because of how many Mario 64 similarities that I recognized. This isn't a bad thing. Mario 64 is an iconic game for a reason and can be compared to to be compared to a game like that is probably more of a compliment than anything else. This isn't a critique, it's just an observation. Onto a strong onto a strong critique onto a strong critique I had though. Many tutorial prompts were unskippable. This is something that I think every game should have. Many games are mostly self-explanatory, and forcing players to sit through several minutes of did you know the interact button can interact with ladders? Or did you know the interact button can interact with interactable objects? Is an extremely patronizing way to go about building a game. The best way to build a game, in my opinion, is to start your audience out with an easy obstacle course that doesn't punish them too hard for failing, that throws in enemies so that they can be interacted with them and learn for themselves how the enemies work. Mario 64 is the best 3D platform I ever played, and I think level 1 is a great platformer to display what I am referring to here for these attributes. You have one Goomba at the beginning of Bomb Bomb Battlefield and no other obstacles. So you can do whatever you want and you're not prompted at all. And if you die to it, you're just thrown out of the picture. It's like 5 steps back to get to where you were. And I bring this up because I think the game designers for this game know about this. The crocodiles are a perfect example of them displaying trust in the gun. The crocodiles in Boltbot are a perfect example of the game designers displaying trust in the gamer. Same thing with the remotes in the bonus levels or the umbrellas that you can jump on to get more height, or the surfboards that bolt you off. I'm not criticizing Boltbot because I don't like the game. I'm criticizing Boltbot because I think it's so close to being a really, really good game that I'd love to recommend it to people, but I can't do that in good conscience unless or before these problems get fixed. It's small things like this that turn a game from it's alright to I highly recommend it, which is the reason that I'm bringing this stuff forward. But beyond that, we go to the next thing. This didn't happen to me until the last level, because I'm so awesome at this game. But after a while of you not being able to find your way, some bots will appear with signs directing you the right way. You have to be doing ungodly horrible for this to happen, but it's a nice little feature. For a more competitive game, a timer might take this slot. But for the type of game the Boltbot is, I really like this feature. Another thing that I like about this game is the aesthetics. They're not as Rule 34able as a game like League or Overwatch, but I have a fondness for jankier indie style looking games. I find that more work can be done where it matters if you don't focus all your energy on the special effects that only matter on a surface level. A couple of great examples of some properties that did this well were Ruby Seasons 1, 2, and 3, Red vs. Blue, Minecraft, Pong, Snake, just to name a few. A couple examples of people who put everything into effects and the product they got was shit as a result were Ruby Seasons 4 Plus, Avatar with the blue people, everything from the Snyderverse, everything from the MCU after Infinity War, every Transformer movie, Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, and that's just to name a few. So now to the core of the actual game. It's a puzzle game. How are the puzzles? I think as a puzzle game, it does a great job laying out and presenting puzzles. At the beginning, I was learning how to use all of the stuff, but it quickly transitions to giving you a lot of things to do in each level. I've played puzzle games where the solution felt cheap, because they didn't establish what you were supposed to do previously. I can't say that about this game. Anytime I was stuck, it was because I wasn't thinking as hard as I should have been using the tools that they provided to me. It's not hard setting these things up, but it is something that I find many games leave out. This game does a really good job on this topic, so I'll give it a solid 8.8 for the puzzles. But on to the next topic. And I didn't think that I would need to bring this up after playing a reasonable amount of games. It's something that I'm going to give credit to every game that establishes it. But this is something really important that I think that every game should be looking for. Good button placement. I'm used to playing games with controllers, so this wasn't a problem that I normally ran into. But I found the more I played games that this is one of the most important things when playing with keyboards. This isn't a notably fast game, so being able to hold right and up while activating an ability by pressing E and jumping by pressing space isn't as big of a problem. Isn't as big of a problem. Isn't as big of a problem as something like a first-person shooter would be. That being said, other than the 4 direction buttons, there are only 2 buttons that you will reasonably use. Excluding the escape button to pause or the tab button to tell you what you have equipped and how to use it, which basically just a reminder, there's only one other button that you might ever use, and that's control, which is a button that you use to roll, which in the 4.5 hours that I played, I pushed maybe 4 times, and every time I needed to press it, it was clear ahead of time that I would need to press it moving forward, and it gave me plenty of time to reposition my fingers to push it going forward. This is a long rant to say that I like the button placement in this game, and that many games don't have this feature. And yes, I know that you can rekey the keyboard, but it shouldn't be my responsibility to fix the keyboard to fit with the game that the creators made. If I'm doing something specific, like I'm in a competitive league or something to that nature, then I can understand that, but the keyboard placement should be reasonable for someone to just download the game and start playing. But on to the next one. A black screen. In the bonus levels, whenever I would run out of time, the screen would go black. At first, I thought this would be a transition to restarting. It was quickly proven that I was wrong. The screen just goes black. You have to move around until you can kill yourself to restart. I assumed that this is a bug and not a feature since I was so confused I waited for the screen to go black, then pushed the button to reset the timer and it did nothing. Dying is bad enough, but having to do more work to restart when you already know you're dead is even worse. Save the best for last, right? Well, I did. The most notable attribute of this game is the mouse. If you have multiple screens and you look around the world of Boltbot, your cursor will go to the other screen. This might not sound like a particularly bad thing, but having another application open on your other screen you're not looking at, so you'll just hit random buttons on the other application. But worse than that, you click the other screen, which means you deselect the Boltbot screen, meaning now you can't move in world. You go back over to the other screen, and now you have to click on the game to get back in, and this means that you attack, which sends you several feet forward, and attacks that attacks in the game of Boltbot move you forward. I fell off the ledge several times because I needed to click back on the game. The optimist in me wants to believe that this is an oversight that they'll fix soon, but the skeptic and paranoid side of me thinks that this is intentional because moving your mouse over to get back in the game or resetting your mouse so that you don't click outside could be perceived as winding up Robot Dude, which, for a guy made of screws, would fit the game, but I would still not recommend it. But I'm not going to end on a negative note. What is my rating of this game so far? Well, I'll call it a 7.1. Not the worst game, and definitely better than average, but if they fix these problems, it'd be an easy 9.2. I made this game. I made this video game be. I made this video because I wanted to see this game do good. I didn't know about this game 3 days ago, but thanks to a comment left by a subscriber, now I'm enjoying myself playing a game that I really do like. Thank you all for watching this, and if you got this far, then you must have enjoyed the content or want to see me play another game. So feel free to subscribe and comment if you want to recommend a game that I play. I I'm aiming for 50 subscribers right now, so if you leave a comment, I'm basically guaranteed to see it. All of that to say, I'm not a big YouTuber, and I want to keep a good, healthy community here where everyone can enjoy themselves. So, if you subscribe or the algorithm likes me, then I'll see you in the next one.